for the operator. Also note that this call is being recorded on Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. And I would like to turn the conference over to Paul Gaynor. Please go ahead, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the annual general and special meeting of the shareholders of Ciscom Corp. And thank you all for attending. I'm Paul Gaynor, Chairman of the Board. As you know, this meeting is being held both in person and virtually over the phone. Also present here today is Michel Pepin, President and CFO of Ciscom, Stephen Lawton, Director, and Tracy Hughes, Director of Ciscom, as well as for video conferencing. As described in the circular, shareholders attending the meeting by telephone or video conferencing may not vote at the meeting by telephone or video conferencing. At this point, I'd like to introduce Stephen Lawton, Director of Ciscom, who will chair the balance of this meeting of the shareholders. Following the formal meeting, Michel Pepin will make a brief business presentation and take questions from the shareholders. So I now turn this over to Stephen.
Thank you very much, Paul, and welcome everyone this morning. My name is Stephen Lawton. I'm an independent director of Ciscom, and I've been appointed chair of this meeting, and I'd like to welcome you all here on behalf of the company. And I will now call this meeting to order. I will ask Zachary Wallace, counsel to the company, to act as secretary of the meeting. I've also requested that Adam Shafi, representative of TSX Trust Company, the registrar and transfer agent of the company's shares, to serve as scrutineer for the meeting. If there's anyone here who is not registered with the scrutineer, would you please do so now? And I don't see anybody in the room who is not registered, so I will move on. I have the scrutineer's preliminary written report on attendance, which indicates a quorum of 2 shareholders present, in person or by proxy. And unless there are any objections, I will dispense with the reading of the report. Seeing no objections, I'll move on to explaining procedures. Excuse me. Before commencing with the business of the meeting, I'd like to comment on the voting procedures. First of all, we ask that participants put their microphones on mute. Shareholders, we ask to pass certain resolutions. A simple majority of affirmative votes being cast in person or by proxy is required to pass all resolutions at this meeting. All the resolutions will be moved. Each vote in respect to an item of business before the meeting will be conducted by saying aye. Absent a shareholder, demand for a ballot. If a ballot is required, all registered shareholders or proxy nominees present who have not previously submitted a proxy will be provided with a form of ballot. I'll direct at the appropriate time that such persons, if there are any, to mark their ballot for collection and tabulation by our scrutineer. And following the conclusion of the formal meeting, we'll be open for questions. General shareholder questions that are not relevant to the particular discussion may not be addressed. Depending on the number of questions received, we may not be able to reach all of you, but we'll do our best. Nonetheless, we'll always appreciate comments and feedback from our shareholders and encourage you to reach out to any of us with questions that may not have been addressed today at your convenience. So the notice calling this meeting was sent to registered shareholders and non-objecting beneficial owners of record as of July 2nd, 2024. I have proof of mailing, and it is available for inspection on request. So unless there are any objections, I'll dispense with the reading of the notice of meeting. Seeing no objections, I declare the meeting to be regularly called and properly constituted for the transaction of business. As set out on page 5 of the company's circular, the first item of business is for the shareholders to receive the audited financial statements for the financial years ended December 31st, 2023 and 2022, together with the auditor's report, copies of which were mailed to shareholders who so requested. Now, I ask the Secretary to place these before the meeting.
It's been placed before the meeting.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the financial statements? Okay, I see no questions unless your secretary, no questions. Okay. As set out on pages 5 and 6 of the circular, the next item of business is the appointment and remuneration of auditors for the company. May I have a motion that McGovern Hurley LLP be and thereby hereby appointed the company's auditors until the next general meeting of shareholders following this meeting, with remuneration to be approved by the board of directors.
I'm Michel Pepin. I so move.
Okay, motion being moved, it is now open for discussion. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I will ask all those in favor to signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary, if any? I see no contrary, so it is now carried unanimously. Thank you very much. I declare the resolution appointing the auditors of the company for the ensuing year and authorizing the directors to fix their remuneration has been carried. We'll move on to election of directors. As set out on pages 6 to 10 of the circular, the next item of business is the election of directors. The names of the 7 nominees to the board of directors for the ensuing year are set out in the company circular. Those people are Paul Gaynor, Michel Pepin, David Matthews, Eric Klein, Tracy Hughes, Stephen Lawton, and Angel Valoff. I declare those people to be nominated for election to the board of directors. The Secretary of the company has advised me that he has not received any notice of nomination from any nominating shareholder. In accordance with Article 7, Bylaw Number 1 of the company, and as such I declare the nominations now closed. And as only those persons named in the company's circular are eligible for election at the meeting, and having been advised by the scrutineer that the proxies deposited for the meeting have been voted for the election of each of the aforementioned directors, I declare that Paul Gaynor, Michel Pepin, David Matthews, Eric Klein, Tracy Hughes, Stephen Lawton, and Angel Valoff are hereby elected by acclamation as directors of the company to hold office until the close of the next annual meeting of shareholders of the company or until their successors are duly elected or appointed in accordance with the provisions of the company's articles. Now I'll direct you to pages 10 to 14 of the information circular. The next item of business is to consider, and if thought advisable, pass, with or without variation, an ordinary resolution approving the company's shareholder rights plan. Are there any questions from shareholders in regard to this resolution? I'm looking at the board here, seeing none. None from the room. In order for this resolution to be effective, it must be passed by not less than the majority of the votes cast by the holders of common shares present in person or represented by proxy at the meeting. If there are no further questions, I would request a motion ratifying and approving the company's shareholder rights plan, which I will now read. Be it resolved as an ordinary resolution that the shareholders' rights plan of the company is set forth in the shareholders' rights plan agreement between the company and TSX Trust Company dated March 4, 2024, as set out in Schedule D of the company's Management Information Circular dated July 2, 2024, and the issuance of all rights issued pursuant to such shareholder rights plan be and are hereby ratified and approved. And 2, any director or officer of the company be and is hereby authorized to do all such things and execute all such documents and instruments as may be necessary or desirable to give effect to the above resolution in the matters authorized hereby, such determinations to be conclusively evidenced by the execution and delivery of such documents and other instruments or the taking of any such action. I'd ask for someone to move that.
I'm Michel Pepin. I so move.
I'll ask all those in favor to signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary? Okay, the board, I see no contrary, so I declare that motion to be carried unanimously. And the company's shareholders' rights plan has been approved. Other business. We now concluded the formal business of the meeting. Is there any other matter shareholder wishes to raise? I see nothing in the room, and nothing's coming up on the board. So if there's no further business to be brought before the meeting, I'll now call for a motion for the meeting to be terminated, following which we'll still be available to address any shareholders' questions, and there will be a presentation. So if someone would move that, please.
I'm Michel Pepin. I so move.
Thank you, Michel. If there's no further discussion, I'll ask all those in favor to signify approval of the termination of the meeting by saying aye.
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 Contrary, if any. I see no contrary, so I declare that motion carried unanimously. Now, that was a very quick meeting. We'd be happy to respond to any questions from our shareholders and proxy holders. We'll answer as many questions as time permits. Call for questions before. We haven't had any. We could move into the presentation if there are no questions. Seeing none, thank you very much. We'll move on to the presentation. And Michel?
Thank you, Stephen.
Sure.
Do you want to manage the slide?
Sure.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our business presentation. We have been going through a nice financial performance, nice growth through the last little while. So I will be taking you through what the company is doing and where we're going right now, and basically our future plans. If you could move 2 slides up, please. Another one. Right, so there's a lot of opportunities in the market. We are basically buying SME, small, medium-sized enterprises, private companies. There's several thousands of companies, 300,000 boomers owned companies that are for sale, and there's a great opportunity for intergenerational wealth transfer. There's $31 billion of valuation available just in the SME sector that we are looking into. Next slide, please. Our business model is to actively invest and acquire managed businesses in the ICT sector. We are very appealing to an entrepreneur selling their business because of the proven formula that we have. So we're buying profitable companies, we're buying them at private companies rate. There are tax benefits to the entrepreneur selling. We have the ability to fund acquisitions with shares, and basically taking the talent of all of these entrepreneurs and putting them together to create a powerhouse as far on the tech side, data management side. We are currently in active discussions with 4 companies, and we early stage with the 5th one, where we are advancing things. It is our mandate, and we are seeing to it. Next slide, please. This is our 5-year graph. At the end of the day, we ended up 2023 with 35 million in revenue, roughly $2 million in EBITDA. We're looking at growing to 350 million and 70 million in EBITDA in 5 years. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. All right. So on day one, Ciscom was a profitable company, self-sufficient. When we became public, we were financially self-sufficient. We did not require to raise capital to keep in business, which is a key element to this. We have sizable revenues. We talked about that. We are positive cash flow from operations in both 2023 and 2024 year to date, so through June, 6 months. Our acquisition and organic growth in 2023 was 200%. The organic growth, so only from current operation, was 18%. And if you look at the first 6 months of 2024, we were at almost 20%. So we're continuing into our momentum right now for the first part of the year, even if the market is a little bit difficult. Everybody that has read reports through in the economy is fully aware of that. Retailers are facing a tough situation right now. Next slide. So this is a quick picture of our financial performance. It is important to note that the first 6 months of the year are usually 40% of the total revenue of the year. And the numbers on the slides are a little wonky here, the way they're presented, but in any case, we had 35 million in revenue for the 12 months December. We had 17.3, so almost half. In the portion of the year, there should be only 40%. So it shows you the continued momentum that we have. Gross profit of 6.9 versus 3.2, again, showing the momentum. We have organic growth of 20% in 2024 so far. We have cash-based increase in profitability of 1.7 million in 2023. So we were in a loss position in 22. Now we turned into profit. And so far for half the year, we're at 800,000. So very good performance overall. It's positive as the business moves into the black for good. Next slide, please. So we will address our market cap and a bit of the economic environment. Next slide. So in 2022, the market turned cold. Interest rates, as we all know, have increased. The COVID fever, where all stocks were going through the roof, ended, and money was repurposed from all types of companies, including the smaller cap companies, into large cap companies or in fixed income large bonds, because interest rates were so interesting. What happened is the market liquidity dried up for small cap issuers, and thus our inability to raise equity. So even though we were trying to do acquisition, the market was not receptive for us to do so. In early 2024 in the U.S., the liquidity starts to flow back into the market, and it lagged in Canada. Now the market has reached new highs. At the beginning of August, we saw a significant correction that took place, and now we're mid-August, the week of August, and the market is back to where it was. So we have a bit of an unstable economy right now. So we're still touch and go in certain areas. Next slide, please. So the fact that we couldn't raise capital, well, it was hard to raise any equity or any financing from banks on favorable criteria. Money was very expensive. So there was a premium to get it, plus the interest rates that were higher. So what that caused is it delayed our acquisition roadmap. On the positive side, well, we put our house in order. Not that it was messy or anything like that, but it gave us the time to grow our top line, grow our bottom line, pay down our debt, increase our cash flow, and continue the efficient management of our balance sheet. We initiated earlier this summer an IR campaign. We're active in all relevant social media platforms now. You might have seen us a little bit everywhere, and this will be intensified in the next few months. The outcome is now really in a very good position and very well perceived by market players as to what Ciscom can do and to go about our mandate, which is an acquisition mandate that we're working on right now. Next slide. So there's 5 big reasons to invest in small cap issuers at this point in time. There's a movement, there's a cycle every so often that takes place, and the cycle is just starting now and favors smaller cap issuers. The interest rates are coming down. It means we have more profitability. We don't pay as much on our debt. We have better earnings growth potential, which is key. Larger cap will not grow at the same pace that smaller cap will be growing. Smaller caps have been undervalued by an average of 23% versus larger caps. So right there, not only are we going to grow faster, we will catch up that 23% and then eclipse as money flows back into the market. This one's a quick numbers. We have 53.6 million shares in market. 35.4 or 66% of the shares are free trading. 18 mil, 34% are in escrow. We've traded 13.3 million shares inception to date, so since June 30th, 2023, when we're averaging roughly 48,000 shares being traded daily. Next slide, please. Right, factor influencing market capitalization and valuation for a company like Ciscom, right? Do we have the fundamentals right? And you see that we're growing revenue, high client retention, employee engagement, low staff turnover. We have green checks everywhere. Growing profits, growing cash flow, investing in tomorrow, industry with leadership. Again, we're all on the positive side. External factors, we cannot do anything about the economy. That check mark should be the second line, not the mixed economy environment. Sorry about that. We have a new promotional IR campaign. We have a positive public image. The board and the management are very well recognized in the market. But we did face a prolonged period of artificial negative pressure on our stock, which outside sources or external sources have created. Next slide, please. Again, factors influencing market cap and valuation, general perception, board experience, management, financial performance, growing cash flow, being right time, right place. You will remember a couple slides ago mentioned that as an SME acquiring company, we were in the right cycle right now in our business model. So Ciscom is forward looking. We're building from a position of strength. We're entering a new market cycle. We're acquiring businesses. We're delivering on our mandate, and we're very well positioned to create value for our shareholders. That concludes the presentations. Are there any questions?
Ladies and gentlemen on the phone, if you would like to ask a question, please press star followed by 1 on your telephone keypad. And at this time, sir, it appears we have no questions from the phone line.
If there are no questions, then thank you everybody for joining. Steven?
So I'll just say the same thing. Thank you to those who joined us online and by telephone. We appreciate your support, your participation, and look forward to another great year. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this does indeed conclude the meeting conference call today. Once again, thank you for attending. And at this time, we do ask that you please disconnect your lines.